They wanna know about Islam, we'll give them da'wah. They wanna know what a Muslim does, we'll give them da'wah.
As Christian friends, you need to reflect what you were just saying.
Didn't your God turn into a tree?
When they wanna hate on our deen, we'll give them da'wah.
How many gospels do we know of that has survived? More than 49.
Okay.
So, you don't follow all of them,
one.
do you?
Pick one.
You don't follow all of them, do you?
Pick one.
Hang on, you don't follow all of them. So,
no problem.
which one?
We're deviating.
We're not
now.
deviating.
But pick
so,
one.
in the Quran it says...
Because what reason why I'm saying is you made a giant jump. You said you were talking about Jesus, divinity, so on and so forth. Then you're introducing Muhammad. So now, as a Christian, from a Christian point of view,
Sure.
you have to assert to me or show me where
From the
all
corrupted Bible I have to show
no,
you, right?
All
That's what
these
you're saying.
things, all these things that you both use and refute, you have to show me where they point towards your prophet.
Sure. So you're basically asking me where in the corrupted Bible is the prophecy of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam? I am saying...
Or uncorrupted, depending on what passage you're using.
The question I'm asking first of all is, the Quran says Isa alayhi salam, when he said to people, that was his Injil. Where is the Injil of Christ? Question.
The good news.
No, where is the Injil the Quran refers to?
The good news.
Is it found in the Bible?
Yeah, it's the good news.
Questionable. Because the Bible itself says Christ was preaching the Injil.
That's your opinion.
Not my opinion. This is what this... If you read Mark, Matthew, Luke, right? Either Matthew or Mark. It says, and Jesus Christ was preaching the Injil, the Gospel. So, if Matthew's Gospel says that, Matthew's Gospel cannot be the Injil, because within it, it says Jesus was preaching the Injil. Do you follow my argument?
Preaching.
If the Gospel of Matthew says Jesus was preaching the Gospel, the Injil, can it be the Gospel of Matthew itself?
Of course.
No, it cannot be, because that book says he was preaching the Injil. So it's an external thing other than the Gospel of Matthew.
So, I guess it would depend on what you believe. Or
It's not what I believe. So you can establish now the Injil is not something that you claim that you have on your four Gospels.
the good news of
Yeah?
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. So the good
Salvation,
news,
amen.
the good news, some of it is collected in those writings. Yeah, no problem with that. Right. How do you expect the prophecies to be found? For example,
Hold on a second. Because, okay, I don't follow now.
You don't follow now?
One predates another, right? So, if something comes after and has all, if there's truth to it, then I wouldn't have a problem finding all these things that point to it, right? So we can go into the Old Testament and look at the book of Isaiah and point to Jesus Christ. And then we can, and back and forth. So we can say, this is as was prophesied, as it says many times in the New Testament, about and regarding the Old Testament. So that's why I'm asking, from a Quranic perspective, where does it, from a biblical perspective, to your understanding, where is the Prophet Muhammad
sure, no
prophesied?
problem. No problem. I understood your question.
In the Older New Testament.
How do we know which is a prophecy? How is the language of prophecies? For example, Christians believe Christ was prophesied in the Old Testament. If I were to ask you, show me one passage in the entirety of the Old Testament where Christ was mentioned once by name, would you be able to find one?
By name, no.
Sure. So that means prophecy sometimes is not done by name. It's done by description,
No problem.
by attribute.
No problem.
Right, good. So let me give you some examples about possible prophecies from a Bible which we believe has been corrupted, right? Because when something is corrupted, you don't know what happened to it. In Deuteronomy 18, God is telling the people about a prophet that he will raise after Moses. I will raise another prophet like Moses. And he says, this prophet, if he doesn't speak what God tells him to speak, he will not speak of his own. God will require it of him. Shall we read that passage? I just want to show you.
18?
And Deuteronomy 18. No, I'm talking about Deuteronomy first. Yeah.
18.
18 is the verse, but we have to look at from the very beginning.
18, yeah.
18, just look at 18 and
I'll
carry on
follow
reading.
NIV if that's okay.
NIV is good. It tells you in footnotes what's been corrupted or not. Have you found the right section? We can read it on context. Because a text must always be read in context. The actual verse is 18:18.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Nations you will dispossess, listen to those who practice sorcery and divination. But as for you, the Lord your God has not permitted you to do so. The Lord your God will raise up for you a prophet like me from among you, from your fellow Israelites. You must listen to him.
Carry on.
For this is what you asked for of the Lord your God at Horeb on the day of the assembly when you said, let us not hear the voice of the Lord our God, nor see this great fire anymore, or we will die. The Lord said to me, what they say is good. I will raise up for them a prophet like you from among their fellow Israelites, and I will put my words in his mouth. He will tell them everything I command him. I will call to account anyone who does not listen to my words that the prophet speaks in my name. I'll continue. But a prophet who presumes to speak in my name anything I have not commanded, or a prophet who speaks in the name of other gods is to be put to death.
Sure.
You may say to yourselves, how can we know when a message has not been spoken by the Lord if what a prophet proclaims in the name of the Lord does not take place or come true? That is a message the Lord has not spoken. That prophet has spoken presumptuously, so do not be alarmed. So
if identified a prophecy, someone
hold on,
like Moses.
Hold on. So the Lord is capitalized. So do you know what that means? The Lord. So that's a very specific Lord. Do we know who that is? It's Yahweh.
Okay, carry on, no problem.
So why would Yahweh be talking about Muhammad? It doesn't make sense.
Hang on. Yahweh is not
Talking
the
clearly
God
about
of
somebody else
Okay,
who's not Muhammad.
is Yahweh God of the Chinese as well or not? Is he God of the Africans or not?
God's God.
Good. So it doesn't matter if he's God of the Arabs as well, right? It's not a problem.
No problem.
Right. So if God wants to send a prophet to Arabia or China, would that be a problem? No. So it doesn't matter if he's speaking about Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
But this is Yahweh.
So
Okay.
Yahweh is just God
No.
in the Old Testament.
Yahweh is a personal name.
Is he God?
Yeah. Well, yes, it
Good.
is God.
Good.
Sorry, I don't mean to confuse.
Yeah, yeah.
But what
So
I'm saying
God
is
is-
that it's Yahweh, not Allah.
Sure. Do you know we believe Prophet Moses is prophet,
Okay. Yeah.
like it says in the Bible?
Yeah.
The God that Prophet Moses worshipped is the same God we worship. That's what the Quran says. It's the same God.
Okay.
So if he's called Yahweh or anything, it's the same God. So some essential points in these prophecies. Yeah. God will put his words in his mouth, and he will not speak as of his own. He will command, God will command him to speak. And people have to listen. If they don't listen, they'll be in big trouble. So this is a message to all the Christians. You know what? But not only that, that prophet who is going to speak, he has to speak in the name of God, in the name of this God, this one and only God. He cannot speak presumptuously in the name of any other gods. If he does that, he will be punished. Basically, he'll be killed or whatever. God will require it of him.
But that's
So-
that's
so-
why I was mentioning
right.
Yahweh and Allah. So those are two different.
No, please. We're
different
talking
gods.
about the God that promises or prophesies or gives you information about the future about a prophet to come. Now, let's identify who this person is. Who is this prophet?
Not Muhammad.
Please. First, we're trying to identify from what you already believe, right? Who is this prophet who cannot speak of his own, needs to be told what to speak, and if he doesn't speak what God tells him to speak, God will kill him. can it apply to God himself? That God is going to come down himself and he has to be told what to speak. And if he doesn't speak what he's been told, he will be killed. Can it apply to God in any way, shape or form?
So that's your answer?
No, I'm asking you.
First,
I'm going to eliminate who cannot be referring to. I am saying it cannot refer to God in any way, shape or form. Because a being told that he will be spoken to speak. He cannot speak of his own. Whatever God commands him, he will speak. Yeah? Total subservient to God. It cannot refer to a God, or a son of God, or a daughter of God, or a brother of God, or an uncle of God.
we disagree, but I digress. Go ahead.
Think about it. Are you saying God?
We're back to
No.
to square one.
No. Are you saying
Humanity,
God?
divinity.
No. Not humanity, divinity. Are you saying God is going to come down and then he can't speak of his own? He says, I'm waiting. Tell me what to speak. You know very well that is not a picture of any God. You will reject it. Your heart and your mind will reject it. Because God is sovereign, almighty. You know what sovereign is?
Yeah.
A sovereign being doesn't say, let me compromise, or let me listen to what you have to say, and let me just wait for you to say. No, his word is command. His word, his will is command. Whatever he wills, it will happen. And that's why when Christ prays, he says, hallowed be thy will be done. Your will. Who? The Father in heaven. And that's why he said the only true God is the Father. He always referred to God as the Father, not to the Son, ever. So this person who's going to come, he has to speak in the name of God. So God comes down and he's going to speak in the name of other gods? Does that make sense? It doesn't make sense. God comes down as a son of God or a daughter of God or a brother and says, oh, maybe I can speak as in the God of Baal. It simply logically follows that this will never happen, because if God comes down, he's going to speak about other gods. So it cannot refer to God or God's children of any kind in the belief that you have. So who does it refer to? I've eliminated by giving you logical reasons. Now you tell me now why and how this can refer to Christ. Does it refer to Christ?
I believe so. Like I
Okay.
said, I mean, we have the difference of divinity and humanity. So
I'm saying it possibly refers to Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. There's a possibility there. If you disagree with me and you say it refers to Christ, tell me how does Christ...
I disagree. I say, okay, I see that's how you arrived there.
Yeah.
I disagree. Obviously,
We can
there's
agree to
nothing-
disagree,
right,
no problem.
that-
But I would like to know what is your basis to justify, to fit Christ, the Son of God and God himself, into this prophecy. How does it apply even from textually?
Well, then that's why we'd be able to, I guess, do the textual references and go back to other biblical references that would
Do that,
call
but
on
look,
the
so
name
look,
of Jesus.
so
then
look
I
at
would
that.
ask you, right? To be fair, then I would ask you, okay, is this the only basis for example, for the Prophet Muhammad?
No, there are
to be
hundreds and
called-
hundreds of references.
Okay, so
Right, so this is just one possible example, right?
So then I would have
Maybe
to,
I'm exaggerating, but there are many.
then
There are
I
many
would have
references.
to, and the same way I would look through some of my references.
But
for,
what I didn't learn from this is this. How do you fit Christ in there? When it says clearly, he cannot speak of his own, whatever I command him, he has to speak. How does it apply to God in any form?
because his manhood has to appeal to his divinity. So, like he said, without his father, he is nothing, right? So what he's plainly stating to you is that without the divine, he's nothing in his humanity.
But this is talking about a person, a prophet. But you're saying God, the Son, was present with him at that time. So why does he even have to be, it's like I'm afraid to speak. Did the Son ever speak as the divine Son in the human Jesus?
Did the Son?
According to this prophecy, the human Jesus is not the question. The divine Jesus cannot even speak.
Hold on a second. So
Divine Jesus cannot
this is-
speak
so
unless
this is
God
what
tells
I
him.
would say in my belief, right?
Yeah.
That when he said, "If you have seen me, you have seen my Father," and obviously that was the divine aspect of Jesus talking. The divine nature of Jesus talking to when he said, "If you have seen me, you have seen my Father." That was not his humanity talking. That was
Okay,
his
but
divinity.
you know that whoever's seen him, you have not seen the Father, you have seen the Son, right? Okay, who did they see?
From your context,
From
your context,
from
yes.
your belief,
Not
when
from my-
people looked at Christ, did they see the Son or the Father?
That depend on it if they believed in him or not.
So according to Christ, they never seen the Son. The Son was never seen by anyone. If you have seen me, who have you seen? The Father. So was the Son ever seen? I don't think so.
I follow what you're saying, but I don't know that it applies. But anyway, my friend.
You have to go because you've been asking to go leave for a long time.
We've been talking.
What's your name?
Rigo.
Rigo, nice talking to you.
Nice talking to you. Thank you
No,
very
no
much.
offense.
Yeah.
I never intended to offend you or anything,
no
but I've given examples which you might find offensive, like I said about integrity test and so on. It's just to have a discussion where our mind is working at the same time as our heart, because you spoke with passion, yep. And I wanted to speak also with reason within this passion. And all we're trying to do is to come closer and closer to worship the one true God. By worshiping Him, you and I agree, we have salvation, right? That's all we're trying to do. We're trying to save ourselves.
But we
You
need-
yourself,
but we
me
need-
myself,
but we
from
need
the hellfire.
Jesus.
Yeah.
That's the part I have to add.
Yeah.
We need Jesus.
According to Jesus, you need the prophet to come after him.
We need Jesus.
Who is the prophet come after him? That's another discussion for another time. You take care. We go. Yeah. Nice talking to you.